Okay. Um, Good evening, one and all present here. So, thank you all for joining today. And my name is Narhari Gupta. I'm working as a coordinator at Animal Climate Health Safe Foundation. And today we are going to talk about plant-based culinary transformation, and we are going to learn about how plant-based foods, can play a big role in our day-to-day lives, and also if we are having a business related to a restaurant, hotel, or a cafe, then also we can learn several things from this session today, how we can add new vegan options, and how we can segregate vegan and non-vegan raw materials in our kitchens, and so on. So stay tuned. And we have two amazing speakers here, Steve Flett, who is also the CEO of El Gourmet Curavito, and joining us from Hong Kong. And then we have celebrity chef Sanjay Thakur. He is very famous amongst everyone in India as well as in Middle East countries, and serving some great organizations abroad. So we are going to quickly start, and first of all, I would like to invite Chef Sanjay to basically extend his introduction, and also talk about his views, his opinions on plant-based foods, and what he thinks how plant-based food or vegan food can be introduced to regular menus. And he can also explain why restaurateurs and hotel owners or chefs are hesitant on doing this until now. Thank you. Over to you, Chef Sanjay.
All right, thank you so much for putting up this. I would so say great, initiative together. It's very important to create awareness to begin with. About me, a little bit. I'm an executive chef of an upcoming airline from Saudi Arabia, and I've been working in this industry for about 20 years. Uh, so, been pretty much from rank zero to top of the chain. And over the period of time, I realized that a proper balance is very important, whether it's in life or whether it's about food. Uh, there should be a proper balance on the whole ecosystem, and I think somewhere or the other, chefs do play a very important part in this whole ecosystem. And somewhere or the other, I saw a bit of, I would say, people are hesitant, or like you even mentioned, that we haven't been able to push this agenda into a very proper format across India, or you can say across the globe. Last 5 years, we have seen the trend has gone up for vegan food, for vegetarian food. People are understanding that a lot, much more better than before. Indian cuisine, in particular, have evolved a lot. People have understood the difference between vegan and vegetarian, which was not a very common topic when I talk about it 5 years back or 6 years back. People were still stuck to few different vegetarian options, which was cottage cheese, we call paneer in India, and that's pretty much it. If we go out with our family, that's all we're gonna have, right? So now what I see, millets have been introduced. Indian government have taken a lot of initiatives. So it's a collaborative effort, and it's coming up. As chefs, what I always recommend to different colleges I'm involved with, universities I'm involved with, let's start with at least 30 to 40% ratio on your buffet, on your daily menus. Start with small steps. Enforcing 100% steps to the masses. They never accept it, in a very, I would say, simple manner. So it's always good to start step by step, like government is now doing. They introduced millets, uh, the awareness, the whole campaign. In fact, FAO was involved in this campaign heavily and promoted it globally. So a message which began from India went global to a great stage. So I think it's always about starting with baby steps, I would say, and introducing new products, whether using millets, whether using other vegetarian options which we can find in market, vegan options we can find in market, and start replacing your dishes from buffet at least 20%, 25%, bringing this chapter. People should be able to read vegan labeling very clearly on the buffets or in the restaurant menus, vegetarian. So first we create the educational system of it, and then people try it, and then it comes, then the trend of the fashion picks up. So that's what my understanding is when I want to bring this kind of philosophy to life, and this is what I've done so far, and it works very much well. Every time I do some sort of special menus, or VVIP menus, whether I'm serving royalties or whether I'm serving high-end ministers, I make sure that 40% menu is focused between vegetarian and vegan dishes, so people can understand food a bit more better. Because we eat to nourish our body, not to just fill our bellies. So that message is also quite goes well when you have a proper balance to your meals. Thank you.
Uh, Chef Sanjay, I have a question for you. If I'm usually like traveling in Indian Airlines, whether it be, one or the other airline in India, I always, feel that the staff do not understand what vegan means. And because these airlines are actually serving diverse customers, consumers, so isn't it very important that, we should have understanding of veganism, or not just veganism but also other allergens, like if I want to have a gluten free meal, or if I want to have a plant based or vegan meal. So I always feel that there's a gap, huge gap, where the demand is there, where people are asking for different kinds of meals in airlines, but the staff, or whoever is providing the food into those airlines, are not able to cater to those needs. So where are we lacking here?
I think we are. See, it's not really a lacking when you see the. It's more than a kitchen. It's basically logistics when we talk about these things. Uh, as big brand as Air India, they do probably 100,000 meals daily, or pretty much two or three times of that, right, from one catering unit. So I think airlines have tried their best to have, when you check in, sort of a thing, when you book your ticket, they do ask you which category of meal you would like to have. And cabin crew on board also always get trained on different categories of meals available for the passengers. And now, with a lot of competition in the market, especially with the Middle East carriers, uh, I think Indian aviation scene scenario has also gone up. We should have seen Vistara was a tremendous product where they were really going into attention to detail with when it comes to food and beverage. So I think there has been a change. It's more about people sometime while booking tickets they ignore these little facts. So I think it's a collaborative efforts of consumers that they be a bit responsible. If, let's say, we are not telling them to do 100% of their flights vegan, right, or vegetarian, but at least start and be responsible and order, let's say, 30% of your yearly flights into vegetarian or vegan meals. So that's where, when the demand goes up, airlines will bring that more often to the onboard service facilities. But at the moment, airlines is catering according to the demand. If we as consumers don't ask for it, then of course they can't. Because in the sky, it's all about logistics. We can't load or overload something which is not really required on board. And if there is 300 passengers, people can't load 600 meals there. It's all very logistic based. So I think somewhere or the other, it's consumers have to take first step. Go on the websites. Everything is on the websites nowadays of every airline, very transparent. Go in there, book your meals in advance, and you will get delivered what you have asked for.
Right. And also, chef, in these meals, do you think like in the coming future we will see these logos as a V sign for vegan, or gluten free sign, or peanut free, or uh, you know how the allergens works?
Yes, definitely. The labelings have been already an internal part and also an external part, which is guest-facing part, and it's very crucial because airline catering, normally they go through a very extensive audits, whether it's hygiene, whether it's safety, security. So uh, I can assure you, every catering in the world, airline catering goes through a very strict protocol when it comes to hygiene and anything to do with labels and all that. And if they say they are doing vegan, they will have a separate station to do vegan meals. Vegetarian meals will have separate station. It's not like restaurants or hotels where they can get away with few things here and there. But airline catering, weekly audits, monthly audits, they're very strict on these protocols. So that's not an issue there, and that's what I've seen with my personal experience in aviation for about 10 years, and it's highly impressive compared to hotels and restaurants.
Right, chef. So it was great having a conversation with you. I think you have been, working with those international airlines, and I think those standards are much stricter with those airlines in Middle East and other, parts where they are catering to international guests. But in local airlines, I think hopefully these standards will be passed on, because Indian aviation industry is growing at a tremendous rate if we are talking about current scenario. So hopefully we will see more vegan options or other allergens mentioned sooner in local flights as well. So thank you, Chef Sanjay, for your valuable time. And now we will move on to Chef Steve. So Chef Steve, the audience would like to know more about you, like where you are joining from, and uh, please introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me as part of this event. Yeah, I'm speaking to you guys from Hong Kong at the moment. I've been living here for 10 years, but I'm from the UK originally. So I have a on and off background in hospitality. I guess sort of 10 to 15 years. I in my younger years, I sort of ran large scale restaurants and hotel chains, ski chalets across the UK and Europe. And then I've sort of the past 5 years or so, I've transitioned into a plant based lifestyle, and gradually just starting to set up a business here in Hong Kong. So the last couple of years, I've been conducting lots of sort of food workshops, training people up how to cook various plant-based dishes. But I think I noticed there's like a big gap sort of in the market here and globally. I love to travel, and I've seen it when I've stayed in hotels where, as a vegan, that there's a lot of like as Sanjay was saying, there's a lot of places are not quite caught up to the scale of that. There's a lot of gaps in the market. Let's say I think where you go somewhere and it's like say a breakfast buffet, there's not any option. There aren't any options, or very very limited options. Some hotels are great at kind of on the spot being able to do things, but sometimes you obviously you've got to put your trust in them that they know what they're doing, because I don't know if like how much training they've sort of had in that area. And the same with like restaurants, certainly here in Hong Kong. We do have some really good plant-based restaurants, but the mainstream restaurants don't really cater to vegan guests, let's say. So I think so. The last few months, I've been setting up a consultancy business to try and go into restaurants and try and help them like bridge that gap really, and just make them see that obviously plant-based cuisine I think is the future, and we not just various reasons, ethical reasons, health reasons, environmental reasons. We hear a lot of the term sustainability being thrown around within the industry, but then a lot of places not really living up to that by offering plant-based options or enough options. So my hope is to obviously help restaurants, hotels, others within the hospitality industry to add more plant-based options to menus, and help with the training as well, because I think that's another area where you go in a restaurant and they might understand the term vegan or they might not. I mean, in Hong Kong, the Cantonese word for vegan and vegetarian is the same, which is quite similar across numerous countries in Asia, which can be difficult as a vegan because then I don't want to be served dairy products. So it's about raising that awareness and the difference between the two, and how they can achieve these options. Showing them the alternatives, finding kind of locally produced items that can be added to menus in a simple way. We're not trying to overcomplicate things here. Just want to sort of make delicious food, like I know that you can do with the plant-based food. So I think raising that awareness, and making people realize that just because it's plant-based or vegan, the food is still delicious. I think you know, a lot of people have this image, it's like a salad or something like that, but there's so many options out there. For me as a chef, I've really kind of enjoyed the past 5 years of like reinventing the wheel and trying out different things and experimenting different things, to come up with like exciting and tasty dishes to satisfy friends, family, and beyond.
That's great, Steve. So now we have a quick presentation to show. And before we start the presentation, I would like to introduce the organizations who have come together to do this plant-based culinary transformation program. So it is not just this presentation, but we have been collaborating in past and we will be collaborating in future also to basically provide these plant-based culinary values, not just to people to use them in day-to-day life, but also to hotels and restaurants where they can actually introduce more and more amount of plant-based options, vegan options, so that you know even though people are not vegan or they're not following a vegan lifestyle, but they can again like go into restaurants and order these vegan options and understand and realize how healthy plus delicious vegan options can be. So I would like to, thank organizations such as Veg Voyages Foundation, Vegan Travel Asia, El Gourmet Curavito, Plant Based Treaty, and of course, Animal Climate Health Safe Foundation, which I am representing today. So we can begin now. So, Chef Steve, I will take control of the presentation, and you can say next, and then I will move on to the next slide. And we want to cover this presentation in the next 25 minutes. So, is that okay?
Yeah, sure, yeah, no problem. Thanks.
Okay. So you can start, and later I will take on after 70% presentation is done.
Okay. Okay, so the first thing we want to start with, and the question I guess a lot of non-vegan establishments might ask is why choose plant-based? I think as Narhari and Sanjay mentioned, we see a huge sort of demand over the past 5 years or so. Definitely during COVID times, if you look at a lot of the statistics, there is a growing demand for plant-based options. We're currently sort of seeing that 27% of diners are actually seeking vegan options in restaurants and hotels. This could be people that are fully following a vegan lifestyle or flexitarians, pescatarians, but I think a lot more people now are looking at options like meatless Mondays, veganuary, different areas where they're trying to add plant-based options into their lifestyle. So I think it's not just like the percentage of vegans that restaurants and hotels have to look at, but I think they've got to consider the wider market, and also the fact that there'd be a vegan veto vote if you got with a group of friends. The vegan in the group is going to choose where that group is going to eat. If there's not an option for a vegan person, then you're going to go to the restaurant or the hotel that has that option. So I think the opportunity is huge. I think hotels and restaurants getting on board with this as soon as they can really see an increase in revenue across the board by adding even just a few plant-based options to their menus. Okay, so there's two terms that I've used and we've used like across it as plant-based and vegan. You probably hear the terms kind of used interchangeably. What is the difference between them? You probably want to ask if you're not sure. The main difference is that vegan is more of a lifestyle choice, so it goes beyond what's on a menu, whereas the plant-based is purely what we're kind of talking about on our plate. So having like plant-based plants as the main component of our menu, whereas obviously vegan, we were looking at things outside of what, not just what we eat, but everything else, which I'll go on to explain in a bit more detail. So yeah, what is the difference? And I think this is a key thing. obviously Sanjay was talking a little bit about the airlines, and I even had my own experience recently during the Christmas period where I had pre-ordered a vegan meal on the airline, but I was actually, when it was served, I was a bit apprehensive about the dessert. So when I questioned them, it turned out that they'd put a vegan main dish, but they'd put a vegetarian dessert, even though they had vegan options on board. And I think the main thing is that we're clear so people understand what vegans eat and what vegans don't eat, really. So the clearest thing is vegans will eat anything that is grown and avoid everything that comes from animals. So the obvious ones being meat, fish, and so on, eggs, but any kind of dairy products. So that could be anything from milk, yogurts or curds, ghee, all kind of dairy products that could be added to food. Even as far as things that involve bees, like honey as well, is another area that of food that vegans generally avoid. Why choose plant-based? Everyone, I guess, comes into this journey with their own reasons. From a personal point of view, I was a vegetarian when I was younger, so I definitely have that strong ethical side to me. I always have had that. I'll be honest, with the vegan side of it, the main thing was a health reason. I had a few issues. I was diagnosed with something, and I kind of looked at some documentaries like The Game Changers, which kind of pointed towards a plant-based diet being really, really good for your health. And I've got to admit, in the 5 years plus that I've been following it, I've had great health benefits as a result. On a wider scale, the main areas that we might advocate is obviously lower risk of heart disease, better sort of cholesterol levels and so on, blood sugar levels, improved digestion and gut health. You're feeding your gut, your microbiome really enjoys the fiber that you can put into it, and plant-based diets obviously have a lot of fiber in them. So you'll generally see good improvement in your digestion. There's an overall reduced risk of cancers. And also, yeah, as I said, blood sugar can generally be helped in type 2 diabetes. You can hugely reduce your risk of that. Ethical reasons, as I mentioned before, obviously, you've probably seen lots of videos about how animals are kind of treated, even on farms that try to promote themselves, obviously being more ethical, more sustainable. At the end of the day, they're still taking the life of the animal. So I think, the fact that as humans, we have a moral obligation to avoid harming other sentient beings, and I think most vegans will follow this lifestyle because they prefer that cruelty-free, sustainable food practices, and I think even if there's some good documentaries there, you've got Mark Hadood, Dominion, Earthlings. Even a lot of people obviously follow a vegetarian lifestyle, but it is worth looking at films like Mark Hadood to see how the mainstream dairy industry actually operate. It's quite scary when we see some of those practices. As a vegetarian growing up, I never really realized the implications of this, and I think the fact that dairy doesn't always necessarily mean even vegetarian, because I think the way some of those animals are treated, the cows and the calves, is pretty shocking to see. So I think, from an ethical point of view, being vegan, you can avoid all of those things, and you can really take care for all the animal life that's on this planet as well. And then lastly, the big one that people are throwing around at the moment, I mentioned sustainability. Yes, we're living in a world where climate change is a big issue. We're seeing lots of, we've got fires in Australia, in California, in LA. We've got more earthquakes happening, typhoons, hurricanes, and so on. If we go plant-based, we can obviously hugely reduce our carbon footprint. If we just look at the sort of conservation of water as well, certainly with beef and so on, it's a big issue. There's a lot of water getting used in that as well. In with that is the land use. A lot of people might throw that the land use is also being used to grow crops and soy and things, but actually, if you look at the statistics, that 90% of the crop usage is to feed the animals that we're then taking the lives of to eat meat. So it's a double whammy really with that, because it's not just the land for the animals themselves, but the crops that we're feeding the animals with as well. So there's a huge issue. The rainforests in the Amazon and so on are being destroyed as a result of that. And I think just generally, like I say, combined with that, you'll see a good reduction in pollution. And by going plant-based, we're obviously protecting the biodiversity of this great planet that we live on as well. Again, a couple of good documentaries there. You've got Cowspiracy and Seaspiracy, definitely worth a watch just to open your eyes to some of the impacts on the environment. Okay, so just to sort of elaborate, I guess you can see from the diagram, obviously, a lot of people say what not to eat as a vegan. Oh, if you're vegan, what do you eat? Yeah, of course, we don't eat meat, we don't have seafood, we don't have eggs, dairy products, anything that's animal-based. We need to obviously be careful with any sort of prepackaged stuff, processed foods, because we need to look carefully at labels, because things like seasonings, sauces, and even in like confectionery, like chocolates and candies and things, we need to have a look at what is actually in there and check the ingredients. There's no animal-based products like gelatin or anything that's been added in there. But once you remove those things, there's so many things we can actually eat. You know, all the fruits, all the vegetables, all the legumes, all the grains. There's so many options that we can add to a plant-based diet. We've got plenty of nuts and seeds. So again, any almonds, cashews, pumpkin seeds, great sources of protein and things in there. All your herbs and spices we can add to flavor the dishes, make these things tasty. We're now seeing a lot more vegan alternatives. So you're seeing vegan alternatives using vegetables like mushrooms, or using a soybean to make tofu. Seitan we've got, which comes from the wheat gluten, the protein from the wheat. We can use as alternative proteins. There's obviously quite a lot of there's an upcoming market now for mock meats and alternatives from various sources as well. So there's definitely plenty of options for proteins. And then to replace dairy products, again, there are a ton of options. There's not really a need to add dairy to even desserts and so on. We can replace it with cashew milk, almond milk, soy milk, coconut milk, rice milk. Nowadays, I think there's like hemp seed milk. You know, they're coming up with so many alternatives. It's such a huge growing market that there are options for everything. Let's say whether you want to replace your regular dishes with vegan options, or whether you just want to experiment with some of the great fruits and vegetables and grains that we can work with on a plant-based diet. Okay, and labeling is something that was touched on earlier. Something that's really important, I think. Obviously, in India, the veg, non-veg labeling is very, very clear. Has been around for like a number of years, and great. If you're a vegetarian, it's quite easy to see from that label what you can and can't eat. Obviously, the vegan label, which you can see on the right, is a newer label, and I think definitely, from my perspective, I'm trying to encourage more restaurants to add these labels on. As a customer, when you go in a restaurant or a hotel, you feel a lot more comfortable when you can look at a menu and straight away I can identify what dishes are vegan and what dishes are not. I don't have this kind of anxiety or anything over, or am I going to be given dairy products by mistake, or eggs, or some kind of sauce or seasoning that isn't vegan friendly. Having the label on there is a great way to show your customers an inclusive environment, make them feel comfortable. When we go out, we want to go out to enjoy ourselves, to have fun, to socialize with our friends and our family. I think from a restaurant point of view, if they can remove that, those fears that you might have as a vegan when you go out, it's great. We can really enjoy that. And it's not just vegan cuisine. Nowadays, there's so many dietary requirements, so many allergens, intolerances. I think spreading that labeling across the board and including things like gluten-free, that's a the moment. That's obviously quite a popular one. And just showing if there's any allergens, whether something contains peanuts or other kinds of nuts, seafood, egg, things that might cause allergies, like clearly labeling that on your menu, I think goes a long way to showing that you're an inclusive environment, and your customers are all customers are welcome there, and they'll feel happy, and they'll be able to enjoy the dining experience from the boot start all the way through to the finish. So yeah, just to elaborate, obviously we've covered a couple of them. So we've got the main allergens, nut allergies, eggs, dairy products, seafood or shellfish, and then gluten as well. Gluten's another one that obviously it's a lot of people have intolerances, so they choose not to eat it, but obviously it can be a strong allergen as well. So we need to be careful that when we're labeling these things as well, as a restaurant or a hotel chain, we need to be careful that we're separating where we cook things as well. We're not mixing with that. So if we advertise ourselves as being allergen free, we need to have certain equipment, certain areas to make that clear, so that there's no cross contamination things in there as well. So how can restaurants and hotels make themselves more inclusive for vegan diners? Obviously having a diverse menu. As I mentioned, here in Hong Kong, we quite often go out and it's hard work sometimes getting offers and things. So what I would love to see is, as Chef Sanjay mentioned, like 30% of the menu or 20% of the menu with vegan options. We can easily convert vegetarian dishes into vegan options as well. Or we can look at ways of transforming the most popular dishes that are meat-based or seafood-based into vegan alternatives as well. Quite often the sauces and everything could be made the same, vegan-friendly, and then you add in whatever protein somebody chooses. So having that diversity in the menu, offering gluten-free options as well, nut-free, trying to use locally produced seasonal produce as well. So what is in season? Do you have like a seasonal menu, or do you keep your menu throughout? Depends on what availability is there. So making use of the produce and products that you've got on hand as well. Staff training, as I mentioned earlier. If I hadn't questioned on the airline, I probably would have eaten dairy products, which thankfully I don't have an allergy against it, but I wouldn't have felt particularly good afterwards if I had consumed that as a vegan. So I think staff training is really, really important, because the staff need to know the key differences between what is a plant-based meal, whether things can be adapted or not. Are the chefs and the kitchen staff able to adapt things? What options do we have if we're going to do that? If we're going to go something off menu, can it be adapted? And again, as well as the labeling, I think this is another thing that puts the customers at ease. If the staff are well trained and they clearly know what is vegan and what is not vegan and the options that are available, then we're going to feel a lot more comfortable. So this can involve front of house training and back of house training as well, even management training, just to make sure everybody's clear and everyone's on the same page, and they're able to make the customers feel comfortable in the restaurant or hotel. Labeling, as I mentioned, so using the symbols if you can, or even just detailing the ingredients. Quite often, there's a lot of restaurants that will just not have the labeling, but they've got the ingredients. So I can generally judge by that whether something would be vegan or not, but I'd probably still double check. So as I say, having good staff training can help with this, so they can clearly guide the customer with that. And then engaging the community with it. Like I say, it's not just vegans that are going to come in your restaurant to eat vegan food. You'll find, here in Hong Kong, I think 33% of the population will eat vegan food at least once a week. So statistically, that means like you could actually generate a lot of business in that. So, collaborating with other vegan organizations, reaching out to vegans in the community and find out what kind of things do they want on the menu. It should be a balanced dish. It shouldn't just be like a bowl of fries or a salad being the only offering. It needs to be balanced. There needs to be proteins, there need to be carbohydrates, fats in there. So it needs to be tasty. It should be as delicious as any other meal on the menu as well. So look at how you can get involved with plant-based initiatives. Plant-based treaty is a great one. There's a lot of things where you can endorse the plant-based treaty and show that your business supports it, and you offer like dairy-free milks, or you have plant-based options on your menu, so that you get people come in and they want to come and eat inside your restaurants and your hotels. Marketing, social media, obviously, once you have got a good vegan offering, get it out there, let people know, get those people through the doors, bombs on the seats, campaigns, themed events. Myself with a consultancy, I'll often, the package I'll offer will include social media promotion and maybe launch nights and things like that. These are really important if you're going to set be at the forefront of the sort of movement. I think it's important that you tell people about that, and you advocate your business as a strong sort of vegan ally in that sense as well. Creativity, give the chefs ideas and let them use their own creativity. Like with that, what dishes can they come up? Look at your popular dishes on the menus and think, can you make those plant-based? What can we replace the meat with? Or we can use mushrooms or something like that. So really try to have a look out there. What's trending on social media? There's a lot of great plant-based chefs out there and options that you could get ideas to add to your menus. And yeah, making it accessible. So making sure the pricing, obviously things like nuts are more expensive. So as a vegan, we understand certain things might carry a premium price, but it shouldn't be. If you're offering like oat milk or soy milk, that should be the same price as dairy, or even less, because it can be cheaper to make. So the pricing should be inclusive to make people feel welcome and make people realize that vegan food doesn't have to be expensive. It can quite easily be a cheaper option as well. Having takeout options, I think post-COVID, one thing I've noticed, the trend within the industry is takeouts have continued. Obviously during COVID, that was our only kind of options in a lot of places, but that trend has continued. A lot of people are still doing Netflix and chill nights and so on. So having takeout options, delivery options is a good way to increase revenue within the menu that you offer as well. Okay, sorry, 1 second. Okay, one great thing about vegan offering is it's universal. If you offer vegan cuisine, it's going to cater to everyone. As I mentioned earlier, it caters to vegetarians, caters to flexitarians, pescatarians, all dietary options that people follow. It's great for religions as well. So like Muslims obviously want halal food. All vegan food is halal. All vegan food is kosher. From a Hindu point of view, there's no beef there. Everything is plant-based. And obviously a Buddhist tradition generally follows a vegan lifestyle in there. So the great thing about it is you don't have to worry as much. Okay, we're going to add the vegan label, but then maybe we don't need to then add some of these other labels on there because it caters to everybody. So that's a great thing about it. It's not just vegans that can enjoy it, it's everybody. And if you make the dishes delicious, people will come and they'll eat it.
Great, Steve. So I think we have covered 70% of the presentation, and now I have a quick announcement to make before we move ahead, and I will continue with the presentation later after this announcement. So basically, this is the QR code that will lead you to the chatbot of Animal Climate Health Safe Foundation, and when you scan this QR code, you will actually go to WhatsApp, and then if you are able to type hi, that is H in capital and I in small letters, then you will be able to access all the resources, whether it be the guidebook, plant-based hospitality guidebook, where you can get all this information in the PDF book format. And also there is a small test that you can give. So basically it's an MCQ based test, and if you give that test, you will actually receive an international certificate that you can later use in your resumes, or you can also put it on your uh, you know CV and so on. So I'll give you 1 minute, and while you guys are scanning, I will ask one or two questions to Steve. So Steve, currently where are you speaking from?
I'm based in Hong Kong at the moment.
Hong Kong. Great.
Yes.
And so our audience would like to know, like, how many vegan options, like what kind of vegan options do you get in city in Hong Kong?
Um, I mean, we're quite lucky in that I guess there's quite a lot of alternative protein options. Some of the bigger brands in there, like the Impossible and Beyond. So we've got, as well as obviously tofu is a big thing here within Chinese cuisine. A lot of people love tofu, so it's really easy accessible. Tempeh, which is a Indonesian fermented soybean. Um, Product. We get a lot of that over here as well. So you'll see within local cuisine, there's quite a lot of dishes that involve these as well. Mushrooms you see quite commonly on the menus as well as alternatives. Obviously, as a big international city, um, it's great for options and the things that we can get in as well. But I do think it can obviously go that step or two further. Really, I think considering it is a cosmopolitan city, I think it needs to take a stronger footing on the plant based direction. I think for sure that's something I'm trying to work on and encourage more businesses to get involved in moving forward.
That's wonderful. And I'm sure because Hong Kong is such a like a international city, so do you usually find these vegan options in the menu like with the label as vegan, or do you need to struggle and find one or two restaurant options out of thousand and then go there and dine in?
Yes and no. I mean, I've got some of my favorite go-to restaurants that I do go to because they have the label in there, and I think that is key. Like I say, I feel comfortable when I go there. They're mixed restaurants. They sell meat, they sell seafood, but I'm comfortable because of the labeling and the staff training that they know what vegan is, and so when I order those dishes, I don't have any doubt in my mind that I'm eating vegan food. So yes, we have a number of restaurants with those options, but then there are some where either they don't have the options or it's not labeled, and then you have to ask. And then it's quite can be frustrating at times where they're like, no, we either they don't understand what vegan means because they'll just flatly say, no, there's no options, and I'm like, but how about if you alter this and this, and they're like, no, we don't do vegan. So there's definitely like a lack of awareness, I think, in a wide majority of the restaurants.
Right. Steve, so you pointed a very important thing, that is labeling.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally feel that 100% of the restaurants can easily introduce vegan options. They just need to understand what the concept of vegan means, and then they just need to label the food well.
Yeah.
And all of these things are free. So first of all, information is free, and then labeling is also free. So they don't really need to spend on anything. They just
No.
need to understand what vegan food means, and then label the food as vegan or as non-vegetarian or as vegetarian properly in the menu. So I
Yeah.
think this can easily increase their sales. And as you mentioned, that the first thing that you look into in a restaurant menu is proper labeling. So
Mm.
if labels are there, which are again free for restaurant owners and restaurateurs and hotel owners, so I
Yeah.
think this is a great opportunity for them as well.
Yeah.
So
I think it's about making it easier for the restaurants to adapt to this and implement vegan options on the menus. And yeah, I think labeling is a great one. Even if it's hard or expensive to reprint menus, like here, things tend to be a little bit more on the expensive side. But the option there is if you're not um, redoing the main menu, is having like a separate vegan menu as well. So you just have like a half a dozen dishes or so that you could create that are plant based, and then you can have that as an additional menu. I've seen some restaurants do that here, and that's also a great option because then you don't have to look through and figure out whether something's vegan or not. You can just look at the separate menu as well. So that's an alternative option.
right, I think that is again another good option that restaurants can follow, that they
Mm-hmm.
can have a separate vegan menu. I think a lot of these apps, food delivery apps, now they have in India, I'm talking about. So they have this veg option. So when you select the veg option, they will only show the dishes that are vegetarian. They will only
Yeah,
show the restaurants that are vegetarian. So I think this actually helps a lot, because now if I'm following a vegetarian lifestyle, of course I would love to see this in vegan option as well in future.
yeah,
But currently, if someone is following a vegetarian lifestyle, they do not have to go through tons of non-vegetarian dishes just to
yeah,
select what they want to eat. So this simplifies ordering for the customer as well as for the order taker
yeah,
so much that I think it only leads to more business.
yeah.
So thank you, Steve. What I'll do now is I will continue to the presentation, and I request Sahil to, yes. So we have this presentation back. I will go through this presentation, and then after 20 minutes, we will take some questions from the comments. So, okay, so this slide is done already. Right. So veganism is not just limited to diet. It is also extended to other things, as in, like, if I am following a vegan lifestyle, I would not be wearing anything that is coming from animal sources, whether it be in terms of clothing, it be leather, wool, or silk, or if I'm following a vegan lifestyle, I would also not visit places like zoo, or I would also not, purchase pets. If I want a pet dog, I would simply, follow the practice of adoption, because I think adoption is much, much better than buying pets from shops, because it again is another area where there is a lot of cruelty against animals. So this is topic for another day, but I will continue from here. Okay, so as we are discussing vegan diet, it is, I think, one of the easiest to customize. So for example, if I'm preparing a vegan diet and I am having guests from various, lifestyle choices, whether they be allergic to nuts, soy, gluten, or they are following a Jain lifestyle, or they are doing religious fasting, I think I can easily customize a vegan diet, because I think vegan meal, because I think if I am serving non-vegetarian meal, so it becomes very difficult to customize, right? Because the major chunk of the meal would actually be meat, and I think many people, who might not be consuming meat or are following vegetarian or vegan lifestyle, for them I will have to make another meal. I would need to prepare another meal, rather be able to customize the same thing for everyone. So I think this is very important for restaurants and hotels, that if they have multiple vegan options in the menu, they will be able to serve multiple variety of guests coming from diverse, selection of dietary choices. And then again, you can also find a lot of keto options or low carb options in a vegan diet. And if a person is following basically like us, uh, in sports field, or he wants to consume a high protein diet, again there are many options, very many options available in the vegan diet as well. So we will deep dive into nutrition in the coming slides. So now this slide talks about, alternatives to dairy. As we see, dairy is a big part of animal-based food, and if we are following a plant-based lifestyle, then of course many dishes actually require us to add some dairy things like milk or yogurt or paneer or cheese. So currently in the market, like, we are very uh, you know uh, we already have a lot of vegan options, alternatives to dairy in the market, such as soy milk, coconut milk, oat milk, almond milk. And they are not just available in the market, but you can also prepare them at home at with ease, right? So we will also show you, after this presentation, we will also show you a quick video where we will teach you how soy milk can be prepared at home. And then using soy milk, you can actually prepare tofu and very many other things, or also use soy milk as it is into a lot of your day-to-day dishes. And then again, so if we talk about pricing, I think if we see any plant-based milk, it is much cheaper than dairy milk if we prepare them fresh at home. So for example, this slides talk about soy milk. So you can actually prepare 1 liter of soy milk in just 10 rupees. So that would be about like less than even 10 cents. So 1 liter soy milk actually requires only 100 grams of soybeans. And if 1 kg of soybeans cost you about $1 or 100 rupees, then you can do the maths and see how cheap preparing soy milk is. And same thing goes with other plant-based milk options such as coconut milk, almond milk, cashew milk, oat milk, and so on. And then there are some myths about soy. So I think this slide we is very important uh, in today's session, because many people think that okay, if we are consuming soy, we might be susceptible to uh, diseases like breast cancer, or people say that soy is unnatural or genetically modified, or some people say that soy harms male hormones. But all of these things are actually myths. You can research for yourself. So after a lot of study and research, it has been proven that soy doesn't harm any male hormones. It has a nil effect on men. If people are consuming soy in moderation, they will not impact any of your hormones. And again, if we talk about soybean for human consumption in India, so you will be very happy, glad to know that in India we do not allow genetically modified soy, or for that matter, we do not allow any food that is genetically modified for humans in India, except one or two things such as brinjal, that is BT brinjal. So apart from that, rest of the food in India is actually GM free. And then there are so many myths surrounding soy, but after research and study, it has been proven that soy protein, is actually having all 9 essential amino acids. So some people say that plant-based protein is incomplete protein, which is true to some extent. But if you're consuming protein from soy, you need to be happy to know that protein, which is made up of amino acids. Actually, there are all 9 essential amino acids in soy, and soy protein is as good as any other animal protein. And then if we talk about uh, over processing or highly processed foods, so if we talk about soy products such as soy milk or tofu or not seitan, uh, tempeh. So all of these products are minimally processed. I don't think there is any heavy machinery that is used to prepare any of these things, and they are minimally processed. And again, like tempeh is actually prepared using whole beans, so it comes under the category of whole foods. And then if we talk about tofu, it is simply curdling of soy milk, which is again done by natural coagulants such as citric acid or vinegar and so on. So you do not have to worry about over processing when you're consuming soy based products. And we actually suggest you to eat as many fresh vegetables, fruits, whole fruits as possible, because I think whole foods give you complete nutrition as compared to over processed foods. So these are some links that you can check, and again, you have the entire internet to look into. So I think you should check and research for yourself what is what are the options, vegan options, that you can actually follow in your day-to-day life. And then this slide talks about meat based and seafood ingredients. So to understand like what is the flavor profile of meat, uh, we need to dive deep into it and see. uh, If we talk about meat, it is neither sweet nor salty nor sour. So, what is the flavor that meat is actually providing into the food that people are liking so much? So, it is actually the umami flavor, the savory flavor that meat has. And that savory flavor is actually coming from MSG, that is monosodium glutamate, which is actually a natural compound found in animal products as well as plant based products. So, if you want that meaty flavor in your day to day meals, you can actually extract get that from plant based flavorings as well. And when I talk about plant based flavorings, I'm talking about natural ingredients such as mushrooms. There is a variety of mushrooms like shiitake mushroom or oyster mushroom. And then you can also get a lot of umami savory flavor from things like onion, garlic. Um, there is nutritional yeast available in the market. So you can use all of these things into your day-to-day meals, and they will give you excellent plant-based savory umami flavor. And I think when you start using these material in your food, people will not crave for meat anymore, because you're already providing good quality flavor that tastes very similar to other meat uh, tasting dishes. And then again, like some people use fish sauce for some recipes. So the good alternative to fish sauce would be light soy sauce. So soy sauce, again, if you are purchasing good quality, high quality soy sauce, then you can get extremely good umami flavor, and you can use it in any of your dishes. I think it is very much common to eat soy sauce in oriental cuisine, and in countries like Hong Kong, cities like Hong Kong, and oriental countries like China, Japan. So why they eat a soy sauce a lot? Because it just not only provides salty flavor to the dish, but also adds a lot of savoriness, the flavor profile that we were talking about earlier. So if you want your meals to be more savory, more the umami flavor that you get from meat, so you can always add some soy sauce to your dishes. And then to replace eggs, we know there are many options that you can actually use instead of eggs, and that are coming from plant sources. But for that, we need to understand where we are using eggs. So for different dishes, for different use cases, we will have different alternatives. So for example, if you want to replace eggs in baking, so you can actually understand first why we use eggs in baking. So first of all, eggs provide moisture to the dish, and second, it provides fluffiness and bounciness to the cake or to the baked product. So for uh, replacement of egg, first of all, we can actually add flax seeds powder, soak it into water. So this way we can actually create a flax seeds egg. And then it's not an egg but a good replacement to egg. Basically ground up flax seeds and soaked into water, it actually creates nice uh, you know gooey consistency paste that when added to baked batters, it actually works like egg and provides good quality moisture. And then as raising agent, we can always use baking powder, baking soda, that will give a good rise to your cakes and other baked products. But if you want to use eggs in if you're currently using eggs for breakfast like scrambled eggs or omelets, you can of course replace eggs with tofu in your scrambled dishes. And then if you want to make omelette, you can actually make a nice pancake using moong dal or gram flour and so on. So I think these are some great alternatives replacement, and these are actually healthier than eggs. So flax seeds have good omega 3, omega 6 fatty acids. And then if you're consuming bananas, or if you're mm, adding other things like chia seeds, so I think they have good quality nutrition as well. And then when you're using tofu and moong dal, they also have very good quality, superior quality protein and micronutrients to them. And also, you will be surprised to know that you can actually make yogurt using plant-based ingredients. So first, if you are able to prepare plant-based milk such as soy milk or peanut milk or even cashew milk, you can actually add some green chili stems, which is basically the top part of green chili, to the milk. Leave it overnight, and then you can actually get excellent quality curd yogurt out of it. So if you're a big fan of yogurt, you can actually prepare plant-based yogurt very easily. And there are tons of recipes on the internet. You can follow any of them, and you will be able to get excellent quality plant-based yogurt. And then again, like if you want to replace butter in many dishes, you can easily replace butter with coconut oil, because again, coconut oil is a saturated fat, and it works very similarly to butter. So if you keep butter in the fridge, it will freeze. Similarly, if you keep coconut oil in the fridge, it will also freeze. So if you need that property of the fat, then you can easily replace butter with coconut oil. And also, coconut oil has very many benefits. You can go through them and check on the internet, like how good it is for your heart and for your blood pressure and so on. And then there are many dishes that actually calls for gelatin. So instead of gelatin, you can actually use agar agar. So agar agar is nothing but basically a powder that is extracted from seaweed, algae, and then it is used to make excellent quality of jellies and things that require that jelly-like texture. So you can always use agar agar, which is 100% plant-based, to make jellies and other things. But you'll be surprised to know, like if you are using gelatin, so gelatin is not vegetarian. It is actually coming from animal sources, and most of the gelatin is actually extracted from bones of animals. So if you do not want to consume gelatin, then you can always use agar agar. Then, if you talk about honey, you can always replace honey with maple syrup or date syrup, which is easily available these days. And then lard. I don't think anyone is using lard these days, especially uh, in India, but I'm not sure about other countries. So you can easily replace lard with coconut oil. And again, like there are vegan butter options also available. So in the market. So if you are living in a metro city, or you can always order some vegan butter online, or you can check on the internet if there are some companies making vegan butter nearby. So vegan butter is actually even better alternative because it has, I think, very similar flavor to real butter, and it is actually manufactured in such a way that people can simply replace butter with vegan butter. So it will have all the flavors as well. And then if we talk about whey protein, so whey protein is actually milk protein. So to replace that, there are tons of plant-based protein options available in the market. Most of these plant-based protein options are actually extracted from pea protein, or brown rice protein, or soy protein, or even peanut protein. So these are the major proteins that are plant-based proteins that are available in the market. So if you are a gym goer or a sports person, or even in your day-to-day life you want to supplement protein, you can always choose many like one of many available plant-based sources in the market, plant-based sources of proteins in the market. And then, if we talk about alternatives to meat, there are many things available like jackfruit. If you're talking about natural alternatives, then you can always use jackfruit or mushrooms. But if you're talking about, some sort of minimally processed material, then there are soy chunks available. So, soy chunks are are an excellent replacement to meat, not just because of their texture, but because of their nutritional value as well. So if you read the labels behind the packets of soy chunks, you will realize that it has more than 50% protein. So there is no other food ingredient in the market that will give you such a good quality of protein. Plus, it is in such good amounts that even a serving or two of soybeans per day will actually be able to fulfill your daily protein requirement. And then we want to talk about the health benefits of plant-based diet. So again, like you'll be very happy to understand that plant-based foods have zero cholesterol, which is, I think, one of the leading causes of many diseases such as heart diseases, cancers, obesity, and so on. So all of these bad cholesterols are actually coming from animal sources of food, whether it be milk, meat, eggs, and other dairy product. So if you're actually following a 100% plant-based vegan lifestyle, so you do not need to worry about cholesterol related diseases, because plant-based diet has zero cholesterol. And then plant-based food sources actually have high amount of fiber. So fiber, also known as like dietary fiber, do not have nutrition on its own. It actually helps our body digest other nutrients that are like carbohydrates or fats or proteins. properly in our body. So, for example, if you are consuming an over processed, ultra processed food without any fiber, then your body will actually receive like high glucose spikes, which is not required, and also will lead to change in your energy levels, sudden changes in your energy levels. So to get proper sustainable energy throughout the day, it is very important to consume a lot of fibrous foods like whole fruits, whole vegetables, so that you actually get a lot of fiber in your diet, and then that fiber actually helps you digest your food evenly throughout your body. So hence, if you're following a plant-based diet, you will be able to pursue a good weight management, then you will have a healthy heart, then there will be reduced risk of type 2 diabetes. Again, type 2 diabetes happens because of sugar, fat, and also there is sugar in milk also. So milk naturally contains sugar known as lactose, which is again one of the leading causes of diabetes. So if you are omitting milk from your diet and milk products, so you will have reduced risk of type 2 diabetes. And then, as I mentioned earlier, that fibrous plant-based food in your lifestyle can actually improve your digestive health. And then there will be low risk of cancers. Then, of course, the better whole food you will eat, you will have a good long life. So this is a chart showing different varieties of plant-based sources of protein. So you can see tofu. So basically, this is per 100 grams. So in 100 grams of tofu, you will get 17 grams of protein. In 100 grams of soybeans, you actually get 13 grams of protein. So this is actually whole soybean. But I was earlier talking about soy chunks, which is again like a by product of soybeans. So if you are consuming soy chunks, you will actually get 52 grams of protein per 100 grams. Then oats have 17 grams of protein. Similarly, there's tons of proteins in almond, tempeh, pumpkin seeds, lentils, kidney beans, green peas, peanut butter, pistachio, chia seeds, and so on. And this is a chart um, showing plant-based sources of calcium. So many people, when they are initially shifting from animal-based diet to plant-based diet, they have a question: what will happen to my calcium intake? So you do not need to worry at all, because plant-based sources of food actually has tons of calcium. So you can always consume soybean, tofu, spinach. They have good amounts of calcium. And then there are many other things like tahini, which is made up of sesame seeds. So you can either consume tahini or consume sesame seeds. So all of these things will actually fulfill your calcium requirement as well. So this is a chart that actually compares nutrition of tempeh, which is nothing but fermented soybeans, with other animal based protein sources. So tempeh actually has in like how much? 100 grams of tempeh, you get 21 grams of protein. But in beef, you get only 19 grams of protein. In chicken, you get 17 grams. Mutton, you get 16 grams. Fat again like is high in meat as compared to tempeh. Then cholesterol, it is zero in tempeh, which is soybean based. And then if you talk about animal based meats, you can see how much cholesterol it is like there is in meat sources of food. And then you can always see it is high in iron, it is high in phosphorus, it is high in calcium. So all of these microproteins, which are essential for our body, are also present in things like tempeh. And then here you can actually compare uh, protein in plant-based sources of food as well as animal-based sources, and compare for yourself. So brown rice per 100 grams have 7.4 grams of protein, wheat has 13 grams of protein, mung beans have 23 grams of protein, soybean tempeh has 34 grams of protein. Soybean themselves have 34 grams, tempeh has 20 grams of protein, tofu has 8 grams of protein, and so on. But if you talk about meat, chicken have 14 to 23 grams of protein, pork has less protein, depends on what kind of cut of meat you are consuming. And then Iron is also present in plant-based sources of foods like spinach, lettuce, mushrooms, peas. If we talk about calcium, we have already seen how much calcium is there in plant-based sources of food. This chart shows zinc, omega 6, omega 3 fatty acids. Okay, so this is, I think, the last slide of the presentation where we talk about how to actually get a balanced diet or how to prepare complete vegan protein options from in our day-to-day meals. So you must have heard that plant-based sources of foods are actually incomplete protein, which is somewhat true in scientific terms. But again, if you want to get complete protein from plant-based sources, it is very easy. It's just that we need to create combinations of legumes and nuts and seeds or grains to get good quality, high quality, complete protein. So if you are combining legumes like chickpeas, beans, lentils, pinto beans, lima beans, and combining them with grains like rice, wheat, or even nuts, seeds for that matter, you can actually get complete protein. So it is very important to, combine these things and get complete protein from plant-based sources. So this is a list of food. This is a list of documentaries that you can actually watch and understand more about veganism and animal, rights and so on. So you can take a screenshot and see, watch these movies, documentaries. They will actually have a very huge transformative role in your life as well, I'm sure. So thank you so much. Now we can take some questions and then we will end the session. Thank you. So, Sahil, can you please help us with the questions? We will take some questions for next 5 to 7 minutes.
Just give me a minute. I will be adding all the questions from Instagram to the YouTube feed. One second.
Okay, so Rajiv Bharati is asking how much protein is there in tofu. So, tofu will contain about 8 grams of protein per 100 grams, which is not massive, but again, it is very good quality, high quality of protein uh, available in tofu. So you can always, replace cottage cheese or paneer with tofu in your day-to-day meals.
I, I think, I mean, if you want a higher content, then the tempeh is slightly better, right? I think tempeh is closer to 20 grams of protein per 100, right? So that's an alternative, I guess, to the tofu if you want to use soybean.
Yes. So tempeh is again a great, replacement to meat, but also, great source of protein. But Steve, tempeh is not actually readily available in India. So it is not available everywhere, like in only in metro cities, and that too only on online food delivery apps it is available. But if you talk about, local food, you can always use soy chunks. So in India, I've seen soy chunks are readily available everywhere. So they also have like 50 grams of protein per 100 grams. So whether you are eating tempeh, tofu, or even soy chunks, they're all coming from the same source, that is soybean. And soybeans have all 9 essential amino acids. So I think you can consume any of these things. So Steve, he's asking, what about B12?
I mean, B12 actually comes from the earth, really, from the soil. So it's not actually in It's almost a myth that it's in meat, really. I mean, unless the animals have been roaming free and eating the soil that's got a B12, it's highly unlikely that it's in meat as well. So I think B12 is probably the one supplement that you need to add in. And I think whether you're vegan or non-vegan, I think you should be adding B12 in anyway, because I don't think anybody's getting enough of that. But the good thing is, it's the body will store it for like a period of time, so it's not something you necessarily need to take every day. But like sometimes, like once a week or something, is actually a sufficient amount to just keep on top of it and keep those levels higher.
Right. So I think B12 supplements are also very, economical to purchase, and it is available everywhere. So you can simply go to any medical store and ask them over the counter for B12 supplements, and then you can get those capsules or tablets and easily consume them. So I think that is very much important, and that's great to know that you are actually, um, considerate about microproteins, that is vitamin B12. So similarly, you should also be considerate about D3. So if you're not going into sunlight much, so you can always take D3 supplements as well. And I think there's no harm in consuming these supplements. So I think B12 and D3 are very important to consider in our day-to-day life. So next question, Steve. Isn't MSG harmful?
Um, I'll let you answer that one because you're more of an expert on MSG than me, I guess. So
Right. So MSG, I think, is available. Uh, so basically, MSG stands for monosodium glutamate, and you can actually create MSG in a factory. And also, MSG is naturally found in natural food products. As I mentioned, MSG is there in meat as well as in plant-based food products like uh, mushrooms or onion or garlic or even tomato. And any, like, there are many vegetables and other plant-based sources of food that have natural MSG in them. So no, first of all, MSG is not harmful. And if we talk about synthetic MSG, again, I have spoken to many doctors and nutritionists, and they mention that there has been no scientific, uh, research that states that MSG is harmful. It's just that if you're consuming too much of MSG based food, then you will not be liking regular food, because MSG actually, makes you want to eat more, and it is usually added to Chinese cuisine, like the synthetic MSG I'm talking about. So if you are talking about natural sources of MSG, if you're adding onion powder, garlic powder, or using mushrooms like shiitake mushrooms, then I don't think you have to worry about anything. But overall, all in all, MSG is not harmful, whether synthetic or natural. But again, we do not suggest you to consume synthetic MSG, because then if you are, get addicted to that synthetic flavor of MSG, then sometimes, especially children, are not, you know, able to consume regular food, because then they want that flavor in every dish, which is happening everywhere. Like if you are consuming a lot of Chinese food, then you know like how addicted people are with Chinese food. So you should not consume synthetic MSG, but rather, understand that it is present in natural food as well. Okay, so Steve, next question is vegan diet for gym going people.
um, well, I mean, watch Game Changers. I would say it would be the first thing, and you'll see that the world's strongest man is following a plant-based diet. I think, and if we look at animals, get all their protein from the plants in the first place as well, right? So, if you look at the kind of herbivores out there, the rhinos, the elephants, the gorillas, big, strong animals that only eat plants, and I think. Again, it's another thing where people think that you need copious amounts of animal protein to be able to work out in the gym. I completely disagree with that. I mean, personally, I can lift way more on a plant-based diet than what I ever have been able to lift previously, and I think it's just a cleaner source of protein. So I think I also feel that you can probably get away with like slightly lower levels of protein than what is kind of the guideline recommendations for gym goers as well. Because I mean, I think if you, as Narhari said earlier, if you're mixing um, the legumes and the grains and things together, you're getting that complete protein. And I think, like I say, if you watch Game Changers, you'll see where they analyze the blood of, I think, the American football players, and they show people the one ate vegan, one or two didn't eat vegan. It shows like the clarity of the blood. The blood is purely clean on the plant-based proteins, and I think with that in hand, that's probably what gives you more energy and maybe more strength in the gym, because it's like clean source of blood pumping through from the proteins that you've eaten. So I mean, yeah, just having a balanced diet, mixed diet, having plenty of, I mean, add vegan protein powders in there by all means, like either pre or post workout, but even just mixing like in the morning if you work out, like oats with almond milk and nut butters. You'll get plenty of proteins in there. Hemp seeds, chia seeds. There's a lot of options that we can add in to like increase the protein amount. And like I say, from a personal point of view, I feel like it's cleaner energy source, and you can see the difference when you go in the gym.
I think you answered it well. And of course, like these days, youngsters or like any gym goer are actually consuming a lot of supplements. So if you want to consume supplements, then you can always go for plant-based, protein supplements, easily available on in any store on the internet. Okay. So next question is, I have heard that plant-based proteins are less bioavailable compared to animal proteins.
What are your thoughts on that?
So again, yes, like if you will see that there might be some plant-based proteins that are less bioavailable, but when you're consuming a diverse plant-based diet, like you're eating uh, something like you are incorporating a lot of things in your diet, like legumes, vegetables, fruits, and nuts, seeds. So then you will be able to get a better quality of protein, because then again, like you're getting all the micronutrients, and then you're getting good quality of protein. But again, like if you're consuming protein from sources of soy, like if you're consuming tofu, tempeh, then you are getting complete protein, and it is of amazing quality. And then you do not need to worry much about bioavailability, because I have seen very many people who are consuming legumes and vegetables and getting their protein from broccoli and oats. And there are so many things that you can actually consume in plant-based lifestyle, which has a lot of protein. So you definitely do not need to worry about protein till the time you are consuming enough food, and you are aware what you're eating. You are not just eating potatoes and wheat, for that matter.
Yeah, I think vegetables, like I say, the mushrooms, broccoli, the spinach, there's quite a lot of vegetables there that are quite high in proteins, and I think add those into the higher protein content. And as I say, I don't think there's a huge issue. Like I say, you just have to look at how many, um, well, the world's strongest man, and just there's so many vegan bodybuilders out there that would prove this, like hypothesis that it shouldn't matter too much. I think it's a clean source of protein, and it doesn't affect like building muscle and strength, I think, in the gym.
Right. So Prachi is asking, what vegan stuff can we eat for B12? So yeah, Steve, you want to answer?
I mean, again, just to sort of reiterate, I think it is something that we need to obviously supplement with. I mean, there's an argument that there's elements of it in mushrooms, again, from the plants, but I think you'd be looking at very sort of minimal trace amounts that I wouldn't be comfortable saying that just eat that and that'd be enough. I think supplementing with it is just the best way to guarantee that you are getting enough B12 in your system. But as I said, it's not something you need to take every day. I think high enough dose, like once a week, is fine because the body will store it. And it can store it for months as well. I think if you hit it hard for a while, and you can actually lay off it for a few months as well. So you've got to, I guess, find out what works well for you. Check your bloods every now and then just to make sure if you're concerned about that. But yeah, I mean, I've checked bloods where I haven't supplemented for months and it's still been quite high. So I think everybody's different, of course, but I think it's not as big of a problem as what people like to make out, that as a vegan you're not going to get it. But I think, like I say, you can. And I think if you're not, even if you're eating meat, I still think you need a supplement with B12 anyway.
Right. And also, I think there are some food products that are actually fortified with B12.
That's true.
So fortification means that the food manufacturing companies are actually adding these, micro nutrients separately into your food. So, for example, if a soy milk packet Tetra Pak actually mentions B12 fortified, so that means that that Tetra Pak actually contains B12. Of course, B12 is not naturally found in soybeans, but if you are consuming that Tetra Pak, it has B12 added to it, so you can consume those fortified foods. And I've seen multiple vegan products that are fortified with B12, whether it be nutritional yeast or tofu or soy milk and so on. So you should read labels well. But again, as Steve mentioned, the safest way to make sure that you have B12 is to get these economical supplements over the table from medical store, and that way the safety is guaranteed. Okay, so Rajiv is asking, is plant-based protein powder is good for consuming in daily life? Yes, you can actually consume protein powders, but in your daily life, you will need to exercise. So without exercise, if you're consuming like protein powder or any food, it will only add to your, uh, you know, calories, and sometimes that food can actually get converted into fats. Even proteins and carbohydrates can get converted into fats into your body if you are not exercising well. So, Rajiv, you need to understand that it's not just consumption of food; it is also how you are burning that. So you have to keep a balance of exercise plus consumption of protein.
Yeah, I think, and also I think it's important to choose like a good product with it as well. Like there's a mixed bag of, I mean, like with vegan and non-vegan protein powders, you'll see, make sure there's not a lot of like additives in there, sweeteners, all those things you want to kind of avoid. Try and get as pure as you can. If you need to sweeten it, sweeten it with a nut milk that is sweeter, or add a touch of maple, or whatever you want, or date is obviously a good option to blend into your smoothie. But I think, yeah, try and avoid too many fillers. Try to get the ones that are clean as you can, sort of like the rice proteins, the hemp proteins, the pumpkin seed, things like that. Pea, like they're generally like the best ones. I think highest protein content, and generally quite clean as well.
Right. And also, like as Steve mentioned, there are tons of options available in the market. So I have read and also researched that there are many brands that, okay, in India there are many brands that says on the packet that it has 24-25 grams of protein per scoop, but actually when they are being tested, the actual results are way different. So I strongly suggest that you only go with well-known brands, and the brand well, that okay, if you're buying that protein from a certain trusted brand, then you can say that okay, it must be having the same amount of protein that is mentioned on the packet. Next question: is fruitarian or raw vegan diet something that should be followed?
I I think um, I think any restrictive diet, I think, should be more of a temporary thing. I think there's definitely research out there that will show that raw diets and fruitarian diets are things that can benefit you a lot health wise. So I think there's definitely a place for it. But I think anytime where you're restricting too many things, personally, I feel it should be something that's not over a prolonged period of time, because I think it's important that we get balance. I myself, I actually did a low FODMAP diet before Christmas, just for 4 weeks. I felt a lot of benefits for it, but it's not something that I had a reason for doing it from a health point of view. But I think, it's not something you want to follow over a long term, because then you're missing out on a lot of fiber that you could get in there as well. So I do think that you can heal yourself with certain diets, as long as you're kind of working together, I guess, with a healthcare professional or nutritionist with that, to make sure it doesn't affect you in the long term. But um, personally, yeah, I think it's something that should be kept to a limited window, maybe. I don't know. What do you think about that, Harry?
Yes, yes, I completely agree. I think uh, I haven't yet followed a fruitarian or raw vegan diet, but I truly believe the nutrition, the nutrient that are available in whole fruits and vegetables. So I always strongly suggest that in any meal you should always have a good portion of salad, a good portion of cut vegetables and fruits. And I prefer not to not to prepare juices out of fruits, but to eat them whole. So I think if you are adding a lot of fruits, whole vegetables into your diet, I think that's the best way to go forward. And I think there should be a balance. You should not consume too much over processed food. And I think if you're only eating fruits, then you might be lacking on a nutrient or two if you're not having a proper certified nutritionist guiding you. So again, we do not strongly suggest you to just keep eating fruits or just eating raw vegetables unless you have a nutritionist or dietitian guiding
Mm-hmm.
you. But we suggest you to keep a balance of a lot of fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, herbs. There are tons of things that you should consume whole.
Mm-hmm.
Next question is, an affordable soy sauce in India. So, see, all sauce that is available in India are affordable. But if you are, going for cheaper options, then you will not get the actual flavor, because those cheap sauces are actually prepared by mixing, artificial flavors and colors and other things. But if you want to get the true flavor of soy sauce, then you will have to spend a little bit and purchase sauces like Kikkoman soya sauce, or get it from good sources, good shops. And I think Kikkoman is one of the best brands in soya sauce industry. Okay, we will only take 4 5 more questions and then we will move on. uh, if a person is pregnant, can she switch to being vegan? Yes, of course. Like I think dairy and meat and eggs have a lot of things that can change your hormones. So it is very important then that if you are in a condition like whether being pregnant or other, like in your day-to-day life also, you should not consume those hormone uh, things that can actually change your hormones. So Steve, what do you think about it?
No, I mean, my son is 3 now. We brought him up vegan from birth. So my wife was vegan throughout pregnancy, and yeah, I think again you just need to make sure. Well, I mean, vegan or non-vegan, you make sure you have the right supplementation to obviously support like that extra person growing inside you for sure. But I think, yeah, you've covered a lot of it earlier. All the sources of like calcium and iron and everything that people are generally concerned about. If you're eating enough of those, then there's no reason why not. And I think, I mean, a lot of the time there's like risks with like chicken and eggs and things like that being raw when you're pregnant, right? If you're vegan, that risk disappears really. So, yeah, I mean, obviously making sure your vegetables and everything are washed thoroughly. But I think there's no reason why someone couldn't thrive during pregnancy, and also, children as well, bringing them up from birth vegan is, is a great way, great lifestyle.
Right. And also, I've seen like with the farmers and dairy farmers and people who rear animals for meat, they're actually giving a lot of injections, antibiotics, and supplements to these animals, which are not, very healthy. and then these supplements and injections and other antibiotics go into these animal products like milk, meat, and dairy. And when we consume them, they are going into our body. So it is very important to understand that whatever animal product we are getting from the market are not healthy at all. It has a lot of other things as well, like antibiotics and things
Mm.
that our body do not require. And when we are consuming them, it actually changes how our body works and leading to problems like antibiotic resistance, which is
Mm.
again a huge problem that a lot of people are facing these days. Okay, next question is how to select spices. So you can select any spice, right, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned earlier, that umami flavor comes from the spices that we add to the meats and the fish and things as well, right? At home, I'll have even like the mixed spices like chicken season and fish season. If you look at the ingredients, they're actually just a mix of regular spices that give that umami flavor. So I think obviously choose a clean spice to avoid any that's got any of the additives and the processed things in there. But I think, yeah, and nearly every spice you can choose would be naturally vegan anyway.
Right. Okay. So Dhadse wants to know our story. Steve, when did you went vegan and have you noticed any change in your body or stamina?
So yeah, for me, at the start of COVID, really 2020. So coming, so I think yeah, 5 years. I think overall huge changes in a positive way, healthier. I think I used to in Hong Kong. There's quite a lot of air pollution, so I used to get quite a lot of respiratory issues and things before. Touch wood, I've not had any issues with that going vegan. So I think that. Um, I don't know. I mean, they say dairy products sometimes can cause a lot of buildup of mucus and stuff in the body. So I think that's one example, maybe that I think is great that you don't suffer in that way. And I think generally, as I said in the gym, I feel like I can lift more. I would say stamina and energy. It depends on what you eat, really. If I can eat good, healthy vegan food, if I'm eating a lot of salads, leafy greens, yeah, energy levels are great. They're through the roof. If I eat some processed vegan food, a lot of sugary things, then same like anything, right? You notice a bit of a dip in your stamina. So I think, yeah, it also a lot depends on what you eat. But I think on the whole, yeah, for me, big changes in the positive direction.
Right. So I think I can also talk about myself. I turned vegan 6 to 7 years ago, and it's been going great since then. I have felt that first of all, I'm not so mentally I am feeling safe because I'm not consuming all those hormone changing food, and then I'm not consuming any unwanted antibiotics. And then when I'm consuming whole foods, as Steve mentioned, it really depends what you eat. So as I earlier mentioned, that I try to keep a balance of whole fruits, whole vegetables in my meals. So I think that makes a lot of difference because the fibrous content in those vegetables and salads actually helps me get sustainable energy throughout the day. So what these whole fruits vegetables do to our body is it actually helps the food release its nutrients in our body slowly, so that we do not get unwanted glucose spikes or energy spikes. So I think one should actually involve a lot of fibrous foods, and it all depends on what I'm eating. So when I'm eating great, which I am trying to do on a daily basis, so I think the stamina stays for the entire day. Hmm. So I think that's it for today, and the presentation is over. And now I will request my colleague Sahil to show us the video where, okay, before the video, okay, we can show the QR code. So in the QR code, again, we will leave this QR code for you guys to scan for 1 minute, so that you can scan, access the plant-based hospitality book, and then also go to the test, give the test, and get the certificate. So the certificate you will receive will be of a of a good value for your resume, CV, and also there will be questions, so you have to answer questions to get that certificate. So you can scan that, and after scanning this QR code, like after we are done with this slide, I will request my colleague Sahil to show us the video where we have collaborated with a very famous actress from South India, where she is showing us how to prepare soy milk, and she's also preparing some other things using soy milk. So, and before that, I would like to thank our speaker, Steve. So, thank you, Steve, for your time. I
Thank you.
think it is very important. And uh, today we have actually shared a lot of details and valuable resources with these people. And I think it will really help them, not just in their day to day life, but also, they can actually introduce some vegan options in their restaurants if some restaurateur has joined. And also, a lot of activists join in these sessions. So what they do is, first they get the information from these presentations, and then they can actually pass on this information to whichever restaurant or hotel they visit. Not activists, but volunteers, I would say. So thank you, Steve, so much for your valuable time.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you. So Sahil, you can play the video after this. You can also put it on full screen now.
That's green light. I really hope you all are safe, healthy, and happy. What am I doing here in the kitchen setup? As you've seen the thumbnail and as you can see the title of the video, we are here starting a new series on this channel all about vegan recipes. So a lot of my subscribers already know that I've been vegan for a very, very long time. To be precise, 7 years. Yes, I complete 7 years of being an ethical vegan this November 26th. That is the National Milk Day. On this occasion, we thought, why not start this series that can help you all understand what vegan lifestyle is all about, how you can easily transition from being a non-vegan to being a vegan by just changing a few ingredients that are very easily available in your kitchen. Probably every single time that I have been on the sets having my vegan chai or vegan coffee or even hot chocolate, people have always commented asking, what is it that I use to make my tea vegan? How can I have milk if I say that I'm vegan? So the answer is very simple. I basically use milk that is non-dairy. There are vegan substitutes that are easily available in the market that can be used instead of dairy products. So today I'm going to take you all through a very basic recipe of vegan milk that you can make in the kitchen. Of course, there are a lot of vegan milk options available in the market that you get in a Tetra Pak, but how cool it is if you could make your own vegan milk at home that is fresh, tasty, and at a fraction of a cost. So without any further delay, let's get started. So to make your vegan milk with soy, which is soy milk, you need soybeans. Now, these are again very easily available in the market. About 100 to 150 grams of soybeans that was soaked overnight. So when I say overnight, you can soak it for up to 7, 8 hours, and then wash them, remove the skin. So basically, these are washed, skin is peeled and rinsed really well. Soybeans, same quantity. Now we will mince it with water. First, just maybe 2 cups of water, and then as per the consistency I desire, I will add more water when I boil the milk. So let's get started. This is a 250 ml cup. I've taken the same soaked soybean into this for you all to understand how much of soybean and how much water will go into it. So I'll start with 1 cup water. after blending it really well for about 2 to 3 minutes, this is the kind of consistency that we have, like a rich, thick paste of soybean and water. So this is ready, our paste. Now we will add more water and we will strain it. So for straining, I have my strainer, a glass bowl, any bowl for that matter, and we need muslin cloths. This is a normal muslin cloth that are cut into parts, and we will use double layer for it, and we'll add this mixture. Now, while we do this, I would like to also mention here that a lot of people have this understanding that soybean can lead to increase in your estrogen levels, which is absolutely not true. I've been having soy milk for over 7 years now without any problem whatsoever. It's very safe. In fact, if you compare it with dairy, this is so much richer in protein. Also, if you see, we have soaked it, right? So it kind of becomes even more nutritious than the beans that are boiled directly to be eaten as sabzi or whatever. Now, if you prefer a naturally sweetened milk, I mean, not overly sweet, not something like a milkshake or chai, not that sweetness, but a tinge of sweetness to the milk, you can always add a little bit of date syrup. I don't prefer, because in my chai or coffee or whatever beverage, I always add sugar anyways. So I wouldn't do that. But if you don't want to use sugar in your chai, coffee or whatever beverages you make, you may want to add date syrup right when you're boiling the milk. I've already strained all the milk that was in this particular mixer, and here it is, strained milk. Now we'll add some more water in it and we'll let it boil for 15 to 20 minutes. We can add more water. Since we're going to boil this, the consistency is going to get thicker. About 4 cups of water. So we let it boil for about 10 to 15 minutes until the consistency is really nice and thick. Not thick, but because we've added water, we want all the flavor to come in and it become like a milk consistency. So why we are boiling this for 10-15 minutes is because we want the soybean to be nicely cooked. We don't want that raw flavor. This was basically soaked. We still have to cook it nicely and to get all the flavors out of it. So I've been boiling this for 10-15 minutes now. You can see it's come to a nice boil. Now we're going to shift this to container, whichever container that you want to store your milk in. It's ready. At this point, like I said, you can add a little bit of date syrup, about a teaspoon of date syrup, if you wish, that is. Give it a nice stir. And so your 1 liter of soy milk is ready. So basically with your 100 grams of soybeans, you can make up to 1 liter of soy milk, which is obviously it's dairy free, which means it's cholesterol free. Fat, of course, 1 liter will have 50 grams of fat, where in your dairy milk, 1 liter will have 70 grams fat. High in protein, preservative free, hormones free, and antibiotic free. Why I say it is hormones and antibiotics free is because the dairy cows and buffaloes are injected with oxytocin and antibiotics very, very frequently for them to be able to give milk in much higher quantities than they would naturally produce. It's basically to meet the demand of the human consumption. So this milk you can make in the comfort of your kitchen without any preservatives, fresh every single day or as per your requirement. Now, we're not going to stop at this. We are going to make vegan chai, a quick recipe for you all to understand how this milk can be used and how delicious your tea can turn out to be. Let's go ahead with that. So to make our vegan chai, we need, of course, the homemade soy milk that we just made. You can use Tetra Pak if that is comfortable. Water, chai patti, which is tea powder, ginger, cardamom pods that we will later crush, sugar or brown sugar, whatever your preference is. You can also use jaggery, coconut sugar, date syrup, anything and everything that you desire. So to begin with, 2 cups of water and 4 cups of milk is what we'll use to make about 6 cups of chai. 1, 2. When that boils, I'm going to add my 2 spoons of tea powder, and now we will crush our ginger. And about 2 to 3 cardamom. So if you're using a masala chai powder, you don't need to do all of this. We will add our milk. So 2:4 is the ratio. You can change it as per your liking. 1, 3, and 4. And now we let it boil again. It's already smelling so good. It's amazing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think 4 spoons should be good. So we are going to pour our chai in these fancy cutting cups. In Mumbai, it's a fancy thing where we have cutting chai. Because our chai also looks like cutting chai, we are going to use these glasses for the sake of it. And we exactly have 6 people here in our team who are doing these fabulous videos for you guys. So yeah, let's pour our chai. Look at that. Chai is ready. Our chai is ready. Cutting chai. आ जाओ एक चाय पीने. टेस्ट करके बताना कैसी बनी है चाय. अपराजिता? So this recipe basically is hers. This is how she makes the chai, and she makes fabulous tea. So the recipe is Aprajita's.
Wow, this is so creamy and so delicious.
What about you? Your recipe only. मगर मैंने बनाई है. ये तो बिल्कुल ही असली चाय है. असली चाय ही है. Also, an interesting fact that a lot of women would love to know, soybeans is only 100 rupees a kg. So your 1 liter of soy milk is only for 10 rupees. How economical is that? And that too, like I said, fresh, preservative free, dairy free. So by default, cholesterol free. This series is in collaboration with Animal Climate and Health Safe Foundation. This series is going to help you all not just find vegan substitutes for dairy and meat products, but also help you improve your health. That is it for today. I really hope you all enjoyed watching this episode. If you did, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family, and do consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. I shall see you very, very soon in my next